changed the name or something in his thread. And like everything he's talking about, I have no idea what he's trying to do. And he says, "Oh, I don't want to use Ubuntu. I want to use Debian." I'm like, "Well, you can't because you need a real-time OS, and that's limited to specific distros." And he's trying to like get it to work in no, is it FreeBSD? He's trying to get it to work in a distro that you can't get it to work because it doesn't support real-time
Must be
OS.
FreeBSD because it does run on Debian now anyway.
Okay,
Just
I
to
don't.
clarify, Ubuntu is Debian, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's the same,
It is Debian.
but I don't know. And
Must be FreeBSD. Yeah. Why you would
yeah,
want that?
I don't know. And it's like I don't know where you're going with this, and I'd like to help, but I don't know what you're trying to do. So, and then he was talking about notifications, and he was trying to do some complicated thing with Slack. But the thing about Linux CNC, it supports straight Python. You can make an M code a Python command. That's how I'm doing all the status alerts and the push notifications. And I gave him an example, and he completely ignored that, and then continued going through this really complicated method of doing the same exact thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I got nothing.
I I just started reading that thread, Tony. It's just pretty funny. Alan Massey, don't blame us. You're the one that cut off part of your finger. Oh, sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that. And Angus, don't worry about it, Stumpy. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. What do they got coming out new? Anything? Nothing? I haven't even seen any really reports on the new controller.
Yeah, there's a couple like build threads and stuff, and I remember seeing a couple of guys saying, "What? I got to put it together?"
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. Assembly required for 329, but you get to assemble it. I don't know. My only complaint, I've said it like 50 times, of all things, they should have stuck a DB25 port on it somewhere. But nope.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that I found detailed pictures of it, and I was talking to somebody from Inventables, and they kind of laid out how it was connected, and I'm like, but why don't you have any debugging? Even if there was like pins, or, where the step direct and all that crap, you could shut off the Arduino side, and I say shut off by basically flashing it with something else, and then use it with something, Mach 3 or something of the sort, but nope. So I guess the big innovation is the fact that Y1 and Y2 have individual drivers and they're wired independently. Other than that, I mean, and the spindle control is built in. Well, for DC spindle, I think, but that's it.
And they used a crappy spindle motor.
No, it's
No, their old one.
Yeah, but it's that's a good point. That's right. So they're all DeWalt now. So the speed controller built in is useless. I kind of forgot about that.
Useless.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for 329 though, aside from that, what are you getting?
Yeah. I think the people that get it, as long as they're people, I think, of reasonable intelligence and reasonable mechanical ability, they can make it do things that most would say that machine is not capable of doing. As we've seen time and time again, we see it. Right?
I guess. All right, so you're selling a hobbyist machine for the norm that also requires assembly, and then you give an option of a better controller that requires assembly but of a different fashion, right? Because you got to solder stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah. I see people doing cool projects with, a lot. Every time I spend a lot of time on YouTube. If I'm sitting in bed getting ready to go to bed, I'll throw YouTube on and start going through my subscriptions and catch up. But there's some pretty cool stuff that people have done with it. Guitars aside, I mean, I think there's some pretty cool stuff. You done any more knobs or anything, Tony? Nothing?
Knobs?
Well, yeah. For
Oh, the caps,
caps.
the
Caps.
fluid caps, the engraving.
Yeah,
No, those keep rolling in and out. Still, it's
that's cool.
decent money and it's easy. And I
Yeah.
I basically one of the last things I did was decided to focus on the dust shoe thing. And came up with a version that I liked and I tweaked it a few times. Now I'm on to building that enclosure for the Arduino Gerbil, or not Gerbil, G Shield uh, deal that I posted in there a while ago. Just do something with the box because it drives me nuts to see this pile of stuff with wires and cables everywhere.
Yeah. So I want my buddy that runs satellite amplifiers out here in San Diego. Um, he bought. He tried to get a free one and they wouldn't give him one, but he bought an X-Carve, 1,000 by 1,000. He would have been a great guy to give one to, but no, they didn't. And I guess you can't ask for them. I guess that's the rule. But so he bought one, and God, he's been going to town building just different things. He cut out a guitar body as well, and it came out pretty freaking amazing, actually. But you go down to his basement where this thing is all set up. It's basically his workshop where he builds all the cabinets for the guitar for the amp chassis and stuff, the boxes for all that to go in. He's got it all dedicated into a room, but the wires for all of it's almost like all of the stepper motor wires were pulled out of the cable and just it's like you use separate wires for all of the stepper motor connections. And the wires are just all over everywhere. And there's sawdust on everything. I'm like, don't you ever clean this? He's like, sometimes. And it's just it's a complete and utter clusterfuck when you go and see it, but shit, it still works. I'm like, wow, and he hasn't broke a belt yet, and he's had it for 3 months. At some point.
Uh-oh.
Nothing?
Out of range.
Out of range. Hold on. Fine, I'll just bring the bottle back with me.
You don't need a glass.
That's right. Glasses are for wimps. Eves, what do you got going on? What have you been doing? Well, we know a little bit. Working on that guy's... You've almost got a little side business of building CNC equipment for people. We've talked about this.
Yeah, and it was completely accidental.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. And you were there when you were talking to my wife, right? And she was like, I told you should have done this a long time ago. And so this all started Christmas, where one of my wife's best friends came over. We were doing a whole grill out thing, and he's like, "So how'd you build that? Oh, the beer tote, the one I cut out from Marvin." It's like, "How'd you even make that?" "Oh, I have a CNC in the garage." And he's like, "A what?" Explaining what a CNC is, and I take him out to the garage and I show it to him. The magic happened is when I turned it on and I used the pendant to jog it around, and from that point forward, that's all he could talk about. So then he told all his friends about this machine, and then that's where that started.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, that's a whole different form of tech support, I guess.
Yeah, that's the whole aspect of doing something like that. It's easy to just forget about and think,
Yeah, but they're all good. I mean, these are all like, one guy he does security, not car security, but like building security stuff. So he's electrically savvy, but doesn't really understand feeds and speeds. And then I have another guy who understands feeds and speeds, but doesn't understand end stops and referencing and zeroing. Doesn't know how to really do that. And then there's another guy that knows how to design stuff, but translating it to CAM is a hard thing for him. It's interesting. It's fun. I mean, I have a motorcycle guy, I have a security guy, and a powder coat guy. So that's pretty neat.
All of the pieces.
Almost,
yeah.
And I guess the newest thing is the other machine I'm working on to do straight aluminum, hopefully. So all of the parts are slowly getting there. The piece I'm really waiting for is the thing I'm having you cut out, which is the DeWalt 611 to ER20 adapter. That will make things a lot easier.
When I went there to have him made, he was asking me how many he wanted me to. How many do you want? And I so wanted to just say, just make 3 of them, just be done with it. But it's just like, God, if these don't fit and we make 3, then it's like, I said, okay, just make 1 set. So that's. I figured if you made 3 and they all fit, I was thinking, well, maybe you could sell the other 2. I don't know.
Well, they should fit. They should.
I think they will, yeah.
They should, because that's the thing too, right? That should be a lesson in itself. I've never had to measure threads before. Out of everything I've built, I've never had to like do the whole thread gauge thing, and that was a complete mindfuck in itself. Because not only you have like the diameter of the damn thing, you have the type of threads that it has. Like, is it what is it? Deep, thin, and then you have like the coarse or non-coarse, and then you have the pitch.
Yeah, and all of that's what makes it hard to model after the fact. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how thick does that middle need to be? It's because you
Yeah.
don't know what grade of cut, that they did.
Exactly.
What percentage of cut they did on the threads, you don't know.
Yeah, what was the starting diameter and what they had to do to get down to that, right? That was my biggest problem, because I can measure the exterior of it, but it's 20 millimeters, but everything I'm reading, it's supposed to be an M25 at a .125 pitch, but that doesn't make sense because the thread itself is smaller than that, but that's the starting diameter and all this crap. The ER20 stuff was easy because it was documented, but the DeWalt was a pain in the ass, because on the thread gauge, there was one that fit on the imperial side and there was one that fit metric side. So I gave you both measurements because I was not sure.
It'd be easy to just do a reverse calculation in a spreadsheet or something to figure that out. It wouldn't be too hard, but I mean, because an ER20, is going to be, or not ER20, just an M20 or an M24 or whatever is going to be a certain, she wouldn't be too hard to figure out. But my only concern is that it's not Philip doing it, and I've had experience with. God, I can't even remember this kid's name. He's probably 26 or 27-ish that age, and he's also Vietnamese. So I think Philip might know him or his family or something. And he's going to school for this stuff, for CNC stuff. So this job is kind of a great learning experience for him, and he's pretty much running the shop while Philip is gone. But he's also the one that likes IGS files, so I could just give him that, and he's really good to go with that. That's really all I need. I gave him the drawings just because Philip was like, if you can do something that would help. Just because Philip is old school, right?
There's only 2 dimensions that matter out of that entire thing.
Yeah.
2. That's it. And
that's going to be that inner taper, I would imagine.
No. Oh, you mean the 80 degree? Yeah. So the ER collar. Yeah. But I'm talking about the part that goes into the DeWalt and the part where the ER20 nut goes into. The taper is actually. So you're right. That's 3.
And I should also clear up that the collet adapter will probably be stainless.
Nice.
And the other part is going to be aluminum. So that's what they
nice
have.
Get that son of a bitch powder coated. That's really nice. That's awesome. Now this is going to be hilarious because the one thing I notice is like, why aren't other people doing this? Why can't you just make a direct attachment for a trim router or a router? Right? I guess I'm going to find out why.
You know what? I went through about a 2-week period where I was tweeting to Makita almost every day that they should, basically, I can't remember what I was tweeting, but it was something about, they're missing a whole market here with CNC routers. That if they came up with a router that was geared for being CNC with an external PWM control that could be software controlled, if they did that.
And the ER16 or ER20 collet built in.
Yep. If they did that, they would clean up. Yep. If Makita did that, DeWalt would be like, "What happened?" But the sad thing is as we discovered the other day, they're all probably owned by the same company anyway. So.
Yeah. Yep, DeWalt was owned. What is it?
They all
Uh,
are owned by yeah why are we drawing a blank on that?
I know it's Black and Decker,
Yeah, they own they own
DeWalt,
Porter Cable.
and Porter Cable. That's what it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
Because every time I looked up for the collet for the DeWalt, I kept finding Porter Cable part numbers, and then you found out they're all the same company.
They also own Stanley.
Yep.
Wow. So
But
if anybody's in the market for a DW 618, there's a Porter Cable that is the exact same router. That's all black. That's like $60 cheaper. Just saying.
oh, so Bosch, if you want to know about Bosch, Bosch owns Dremel. Bosch owns Dremel. Bosch owns Freud Freud Freud.
Really?
Rotozip. Bosch owns Skill. Bosch owns Vermont America. Gilmore. CST Burger.
A lot of the end mills I have are Freud, or whatever you call them.
Freud.
Yeah, the compression bits I have are from them, and two of my ups and down cuts are from them.
Stanley owns Stanley, Black & Decker, Bostitch, Vadmir, Proto, Powers, Lista. Oh, they own Lista. Wow. Mac Tools. Wow, they own Mac Tools. DeWalt, Porter Cable, Faycom, and Sidchrome. Never heard of Sidchrome. Huh. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. That's the way of the world, though. Everything kind of gets consolidated over time. It becomes easier for them to buy a company that has the product than to reinvent it themselves.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But hopefully after this exercise, I'll get, should I say, ballsy enough to try to do an automatic tool changer.
Yeah, that might be one where you kind of do as much preliminary. You'll have a machine that can do. The new aluminum cutting machine is going to be high enough to use your rotary, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because that might be something where you prototype in Delrin as much as we can, or something like that,
Or 3D print it, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Well, at least mechanically, so I could
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
The trick to
Verify that it works.
is finding a pre-manufactured tool holder, so I don't have to make those.
And those exist.
Yeah, but they're huge.
Yeah.
Like you can get stuff that's smaller than R8, but that would look kind of redonkulous on on like a little tiny router, you know.
So just so you guys, Eads and I were talking the other day about, there's nobody for these routers. There's nobody that makes a tool changer. We started talking about the TTS Tormach tool changer, and it's a pretty cool system if you watched videos on how it works, and it's pretty neat. But there's nothing like that for the home CNC. Nothing, especially if you're using like an off-the-shelf router or something like that.
There's hardly any for VFDs. There's like two manufacturers that make them for VFDs.
And it would be cool to come up with something that would work kind of as an add-on for those.
Yeah.
That would be really awesome.
Something pneumatic, low PSI. You don't need like a freaking massive 200 PSI compressor to operate.
Well, yeah, that's... Yeah,
I
don't know.
And the big thing is a standard kind of off-the-shelf-ish tool holder, and then I can model around that, I guess. Because I showed you that one designed for that Crest tool, that little tiny router.
Yeah, and that's a cool system. It's really nice. It looks really well built, for sure.
Yeah, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that exists for that particular, and it's like $600, and it only comes with two tool holders.
So how many tools would you want in the library? How many would you think would be reasonable? Like 4 or 6 or?
Me personally, 5.
5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think between 5 and 6, something like that is probably. I mean, because on average, how many are you using on a job? At most, maybe 2 or 3. Maybe.
It depends, because if I have V-carving stuff and then 3 profiles, then I have my tapers in there too, and it could get up in the 6 range. I try to avoid that at all costs, because it's like, first of all, if one op takes 2 hours, another op takes an hour, and then the ball mill stuff always takes multi-hour. Yeah. So I'd say 5-ish. And if there's anything else, then I'll have an extra one but then I'll have to do the tool thing and I have to measure it out. But then I can automate that too because I have the tool setter built into the wasteboard. So I guess I could do that. But yeah, I think that's probably the next thing, sort of.
No, wait. You said the next thing was. You said your next thing was. What did you say? Something about.
Oh, the FPGA?
FPGAs, yeah.
No,
FPGAs.
I said that when everything dies down, that's when I'm. Yeah, I know.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. You know what's ironic too? In the Machine Kit forum, there is somebody trying to get a Cyclone 5 to work with BeagleBone Black and flash the Mesa 5i25 firmware on it. That's exactly what I would like to do.
Wow. I would just like Machine Kit to work.
It works. Now the question is pin allotment. Man, PWM, man, I don't get the deal with that. I don't understand.
You ever figure that out?
No, and the thing that's kind of strange about that too is that you could use Machine Kit with a 3D printer, and you need at least 2 forms of PWM, one for the extruder and one for the bed.
Just go onto their IRC. I heard they're really nice.
Yeah, right. No, they're not. I'm sorry if you guys are watching this, but some of the people in there are kind of assholes. It's true.
It is. It is true. Yeah. The email list is a lot more friendly.
Are you talking about the Google group thing?
Yeah.
Sometimes you always have that one person that adjusts their glasses. You could hear them adjusting their glasses as they're answering it.
As they're typing your email. Yeah.
But, yeah, I would say the CNC Zone, the Linux CNC forum, those guys. There's like ArcEye and Big John T.
Big John T.
Those guys are like, they're good. They're very good.
He's very good, yeah. Especially when it comes to the HAL stuff or anything like that. Those guys are just...
That was the exact thing I needed help with. Because the PWM thing, I thought it was a HAL thing, and they gave me the thing that should have worked, which didn't work on Machine Kit, but then I went to Long Oko, which has a straight, normal Linux CNC install on it, moved the super pit out there, and it worked first shot with his 5 lines of adjustments in the HAL file. So it wasn't the HAL. It was definitely something on the Machine Kit side that was not, which doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be the same build, right?
Linux CNC and Machine Kit are 2 forks. They're 2 separate forks. So
understood, but every time Linux CNC does an upgrade, like 2.78, I think is the latest, you'll see that merge over on the Machine Kit side, right? So
I have noticed that in the past. I will agree, but
I don't know.
Things that make you go,
Yeah, I know. I had high hopes for Machine Kit because that would have been awesome to have a small SoC like that, especially if they get this FPGA thing working, man. That is a Mesa killer right there. A small, embedded, just awesomeness in something that's about the size of basically a Raspberry Pi.
I think I would love to see. Well, you have Tyler. You've got the Edison, right?
Yeah.
That does not. That's just a CPU and SOIC, right? It's not a. There's no PRU or anything like that on. So it would be cool.
You can add that.
See, that would be awesome. I think that's a better platform because let's face it, the Raspberry or the BeagleBone Black is pretty long in the tooth as far as age goes. It's.
Is it A7? Yeah, it's an A7.
Now there's a new BeagleBone that's out, and I know that there was talk about
the green.
No, is it like the X15 or something like that? What the hell is that one?
Now the newest BeagleBone is the BeagleBone Green, but the problem is it does not have the PRU, but it has all the upgraded stuff. So it's like everything that would make that whole platform awesome except Machine Kit.
Yeah, it's the BeagleBone X15, and it's a TI AM 5728, 2 by 1.5 gigahertz ARMS Cortex A15s, 2 gigabytes of DDR3, 4 gigabytes of eMMC on board, 3D graphics, accelerators, a lot of signal DSPs, just a ton of shit. And I know they were looking at porting Machine Kit to this. Now I don't know, and that was the main guy who was talking about that. Now I don't know if they ever did.
This looks more media-centric.
It does with the 3D.
Well, it has SPDIF out, it has its own audio codec, HDMI, DC.
But it also has 4 32-bit programmable real-time PRUs.
Oh, is that the PMIC? Is that what that is?
I don't know that. It could be, yeah. But it has
if I figure this
4 of them. So it would be pretty cool. But I don't know. Well, I think that board is pretty pricey, if I remember right, too.
It looks pricey. I mean, really, what somebody needs to do is, because the Raspberry Pi is the most common, especially with the Raspberry Pi Zero. Holy crap, $5. For somebody to do like a small FPGA that basically sat on the headers of like a Raspberry Pi, let's just say Raspberry Pi 2, that would be very epic. That would be really cool. Edison would be cool too, because that's just an x86 right there, and you would just break it out and then have some sort of what do they call their add-ons, expansions, I guess.
On the Pi?
No, on the Edison. I'm sorry, I switched gears on you guys.
I don't know.
I don't know, but something like that with an FPGA, that'd be awesome.
There are a ton of FPGA.
Wait, Edison has a PCI Express bus, doesn't it?
Tyler?
Well, I haven't done much of that. I've just had the. I just know that you can break out a bazillion pins on it. That's why I chose it.
So in theory, you could get the 6i25, which is PCI Express.
In theory.
And well, you would have to make your own everything to adapt to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be really small because basically the Edison's about the size of a SODIMM connected to a PCI Express card is about the size of a video card for no reason, really.
Now the processor on that is basically the Atom, isn't it? On the Edison?
I believe it's a dual core. I believe it is.
So it's the same processor that's on this end, basically. I need to send that to you, too. I meant to do that this week.
That was funny when you showed that to me. Just in case, that doesn't work all, here's your plan B. I know.
I'm just going to send it to you anyway, so you do what you want with it.
I'll probably end up using it for that.
I figured. Then I can quit feeling sorry for you.
Jeez. And then on the side of that, with the whole talk of Mesa, because of the guy that wants me to build the other CNC, he wants to go full Mesa with the lead shine DM4660.
Yeah.
That should be like a very nice combination because it already has the DB25 from point to point, and they both have IDC 26s. I'm sorry, DB26, and they both have IDC 26. So you could use all lanes between both devices, and that should be pretty interesting. And has full encoder support and all types of craziness.
So for $89, you can get a Spartan 6 shield for the Raspberry Pi for $89.
Yeah, but you would have to figure out how to even do all that.
Oh, that's a whole can of worms that my brain can't even wrap its head around.
I mean, like, for example, what does that mean, though? I mean, could I technically take... I think... So, is the Mesa firmware open sourced? I think one of the models, the firmware is open source, right? It's the lowest end model they got.
It might be. I guess I'm not sure.
Linux CNC actually does the flashing, from what I read.
It does, but I'm not sure if that flash... What the hell? I don't know. It was loud. Yeah, something.
Sorry, I was about to type.
It might be just like, a binary image that gets dumped to it. I'm not sure how that works.
So are all FPGAs equal? Do they have to
No.
be the same? Okay, so
No.
it's not like you can just flash that on any of them. So you would have to know exactly what they were
It's
using.
very specific from what I understand.
Yeah, so that's
Plus, the
That's
whole development environment for it is each one is different, and most of the times not free.
yeah.
So
So
I don't
the
know. I'm completely Tyler. You should know this stuff. Come on, damn it.
Just, I'm mechanical engineering.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You turn wrenches.
hey now.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. That was the smarter of the 2 degrees.
It's the most broad.
It is.
But what's kind of funny, I was looking just as other internships to, just kind of whatever, and all the companies that are internship fair, were all like electrical or computer. And the 2 companies that were actually somewhat interested and contacted me back were both for programming related stuff, which, like,
But see,
okay.
as a mechanical engineer, that'll happen to you all day long. Not so much to electrical engineer, but
Yeah, so I was like, oh, what they were doing, some of them were semi-mechanical, so I was like, yeah, I'll just do whatever. But, half my resume is electronic stuff, so,
yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
someday I'll get a mechanical job.
You will use all of the expertise that you have gained for sure. It'll just that one
Yeah.
company that was interested in you, that would be kind of cool. They're a European-based company, so there'd certainly be some travel involved, which would be awesome.
Yeah. It was a cool company. And the other one was some aerospace company. So,
And that would be
yeah.
good because that goes right in line with your interests anyway. So
I think that's why they were kind of interested.
yeah.
That, and then it was kind of some more programming, electronic stuff, which is the other half of the resume. So, but they emailed me, and I emailed them back, and I haven't heard from them, so I don't know what's going on. But I did hear the company that I'm at right now said that there should be work for me this summer if I want to stay. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah,
They pay okay.
I'd say so.
Well, then that's good. That's good. You got to buy a house.
Yep, I do. Working on it. We just need to finish getting financial paperwork sent and see what the mortgage broker says, and go from there. But he already said that we should be all right for the little bit of information I gave him. So.
Yeah. We rented for a long time and then bought, and then that was in California, and bought for $270,000 in the early or mid '90s, mid to late '90s, and then in 2000 sold for about 512. So that was a nice, and then bought the house in Woodbury and lost that in a bankruptcy. Yay!
Yeah, now you just need to move back here and.
Well, somewhere, I don't know where. Who knows? We're still discussing.
You can move to Grand Forks. I hear that it's a great place to live.
I wonder if it's just us, but it's like we seek out change.
Could be. I hate the same routine. That's why I love it when it just drops a ton of snow, because it just destroys the monotony of the day, which is awesome.
I would agree. I did like that too, when all of a sudden it's like, boom, take that.
It's just chaos, but it's like, it's relaxing chaos.
It kind of does feel good, yeah. That must be just us. That must be a Midwest thing.
Must be.
No, I hate shoveling it.
I always had a big snowblower, so that was always easy. I didn't mind. And plus 2 kids that could do it, so. Well, 3, but one was a little younger, so I wasn't too much into child labor at that point. But
Yeah,
the older ones were fun.
When we had the 3.5 feet, that one sitting, this whole area was useless. We were not ready for that. Kind of like a hurricane hitting New York. Yeah, they weren't ready for that either.
Yeah, not at all.
What's weird is we never seem to be ready, even though we always seem to have like a week notice. But
Yeah.
I mean,
so
supposedly.
the
Oh, good.
I was gonna change subjects again, but
Go ahead. That's what it's all about.
I was just gonna say the gear came down using the Arduino, but it doesn't want to go back up. So I can flip a switch, it'll go down, but you can't flip the switch the other way and it goes back up.
So just so the task switch doesn't hurt everybody's brain, Tyler bought a copy of X-Plane, which is probably one of the best flight simulators out there. I've had it for a little while. It's relaxing. I'll just sit here some night while the wife is watching Nurse Jackie or whatever. I can't handle it. It's such a self-destructive show. Oh God. So X-Plane has an API so that you can interface various things, and there's some guy wrote a really cool Arduino library that lets you basically do anything with an Arduino using all the I/O to basically make a cockpit like real instruments, a physically functioning cockpit, basically.
So wait a second. You can get a real altimeter, and like a real one to work with the game using Arduino.
You'd have to do some modifications to it, but yes,
Ooh.
you could do that.
So like gauges and everything.
Yep.
Whatever you want, it does everything.
Whatever you want to spend your money on, it'll do.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah, because there was a car simulating game where somebody took a Honda Dash of a car and got it to work completely with the game. Gauges, everything.
It's not hard. You know, the library, so this is a Mega with an Ethernet shield on it.
Yeah.
And so the software, you basically go into X-Plane and tell it that this is the IP address of this card and to send data for whatever instruments this is controlling to this card. And all of the analog I/O, the digital I/O, the PWM, you can use any of that on any of the instruments in any way that you need to use it.
Including display?
Yep, rotary and well, displays. So LCD displays are controlled by the actual video card, but like
no. Like for example, if you had like an I2C like monochrome.
Yeah,
display.
Yep, you can use something like this to control, like if you wanted to do a radio stack, like a radio stack in an airplane. This is just a small 4-character one, but that's what I'm going to play with. I was curious to see if it would work, but yeah, it'll totally do all that.
That's pretty damn cool.
It's pretty cool, yeah, it's pretty cool.
See, I would love to do that with a car sim.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I like flight sims too, but something where you could put a real shifter, real clutch pedal and all that and still have the right feel of everything, and then actual gauges, you know, like you could turn on fan brake cooling and turn it off and stuff like that with physical switches.
Yeah, there's some really good auto simulators out there that take all the physics and everything into concern, and that's kind of what you want, as long as they have an API that you can interface with. It's really cool.
Do they have force feedback stuff for the X-Plane stuff?
If you can certainly do force feedback. If you happen to have, there are a couple of force feedback joysticks that you can get. Microsoft had one a long time ago. And there's guys doing it with X-Plane I've seen.
X-Plane has servo and stepper outputs.
Yep.
At least this library has them built in.
Okay. That's cool.
It'll also do I2C, and I think it does a million other things.
Yeah, you can send I2C out to LCD displays or LED displays or whatever. That's the problem, is it's so configurable, you know.
Oh, if I had time.
Right? It's like, oh my God, there's just not enough hours in the day.
That would be cool. I'm like already I'm thinking of like 50 things.
Like what?
Well, I mean, how cool would it be? Because we both have those 7-inch displays, right? So
yeah.
Basically in the Arduino, you would make a HUD, so common information would be there. Get a real altitude gauge, real pressure gauge, a separate one for engine output, engine RPM, temps, force feedback, switches to do things.
Yep.
Uh,
It's all.
Resistant when you're pulling the I want to say fork, but the joystick or whatever you want to call it. To give you the proper resistance of pulling up or pulling down if it's not a fly-by-wire type setup. Rumble seats. Um, you could in theory do a HUD like one of those. Is it the Hawk? What is the jet fighter where they put the HUD on the helmet?
Jeez. Hopefully that wasn't chatter.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of the newer ones are all done that way. I mean, where you see wherever you look, you see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the newer ones are that way. Well, shit, even the Apache helicopters had that for a long time. Yeah.
Well, I think they were the first, right?
Probably the Apache or the Cobra. I mean, they had.
The gunner guy, wherever his head goes, that's where the turret moves.
Yeah, and the Cobra has done that for, gosh, the Cobra's been around since the 70s, and it's had that. So.
Yeah, and I think it's the F-22 and the F-23. One of the two, the entire HUD is in the helmet. I'll find a picture of it. It's like the most ridiculous looking thing you've ever seen. Like this big bulbous thing that sits in the front of the helmet.
Sometime when you have time to spend, I was kind of doing a Google, but I couldn't pick which video I'd want to send you. But take a look at some of this. There's guys that do heavy metal simulators, large airplane, commercial aircraft like 747, 737. Yeah. They build simulators in their garages, and these guys have as complicated as you imagine those cockpits.
Yeah.
Every gauge works.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are using X-Plane now because Microsoft doesn't have one anymore, but X-Plane is still by far the best. But yeah, the car simulator would be kind of fun, especially, with an airplane, full motion gets kind of hard to do because you need quite amount of motion. But you wouldn't need quite so much motion in a car, so it'd be kind of fun to do a motion simulator to put it on a platform like some sort of kinematics, three hydraulic thingies somehow, so you could feel a little bit of the
linear actuators.
Yeah, it'd be pretty awesome, and it'd be a lot easier.
That would be interesting if you somehow were able to connect it to EMC, a lightweight EMC, to drive linear actuators.
Yeah, that would be
overkill, but that would be crazy.
Yeah, well, it's like anything. I mean, it's having a huge, 4 foot by 8 foot CNC router in your garage overkill for some people. I don't know. I mean, it's the perception, right? I was on a couple of different forums to these flight simulators, and the guys are like, "Why do you guys spend so much money on flight simulators? I'd just rather go out and fly the real thing." Well, a lot of these guys do. They fly the real thing. Or a lot of guys have had, for medical reasons, can't go out and fly the real thing anymore, but did for years.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you look at it, I don't think it's more expensive because, so if you go a full-blown race car sim, there's no maintenance involved, really.
Nothing.
I mean, you don't have to pay rent on a vehicle or a trailer and paying, going to a track and then paying whatever it takes to go onto the track. I think it still comes out cheaper.
Plus the science and the math behind it, I think, would be interesting.
Oh yeah.
To be able to just sit there and tweak. Okay, if I move the center of gravity this much, or if I do something different, how does it affect the car handling? I think things like that are just fun. That's the same with X-Plane. You can go into this when you buy X-Plane. You get a program called Plane Maker, and you can go in and you can change any aspect of the airplane you'd want, and then turn around in about 2 seconds and go fly it and see how it handles. That's just pretty awesome to me. I think about where we are now with compute power, and as much as we take it all for granted, it's pretty awesome. There's a group that came out with an update for X-Plane that when you're flying an X-Plane, you see the ground, and there's an underlying, the very lowest layer, if you were to look at hierarchically, there's a mesh, and this is ultimately from the national from U.S. Geological Survey, right? It's the topographical mesh of the Earth, right? And there's one that's 30-meter resolution, and I think the new one that came out, which is ultra-high resolution, is 15-meter resolution. And for the one that's 15 meters, they recommend 16. Well, the minimum is 16 gigs of RAM in your computer, and they recommend 32 gigs of RAM in your computer. Just because it's so much data that's flying in and out. And I have to turn the settings when I run the ultra-high. The ultra-high is only out for like California. There's parts of California, Nevada, the Grand Canyon has it, but I have to turn my settings way down. Even on the video card that I've got, it's just can't handle it. Too much data.
And
Yeah.
the ground terrain, is that accurate? Like you'll fly over an area and recognize it?
It's breathtaking. I would love to see. Well, I've got that TV behind me is the 4K Samsung, and I'm what I'd love to do is to have a cockpit and have that as just the video out my window. That would be freaking awesome. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. The default scenery isn't bad, but there's a lot of things that you can add. There's people that have built airports, that are correct as far as all the buildings and everything goes, and the taxiways and everything. There's so many add-ons for flight sims that it's just crazy.
So what flight stick are you using? Or are you just using keyboard?
No, God, no, I couldn't fly with a keyboard. So this is the Logitech Extreme Pro 3D. So I was telling you, Tyler, so you see how it twists here for rudder?
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot handier, but and it's got some, I can program some of these, so I got some for rudder trim and elevator trim and aileron trim. But yeah, it works fine. I don't have rudder pedals, so having the ability to twist it to control the rudder is required. Otherwise, it gets kind of weird. But
so
go ahead.
I was gonna say the full Thrustmaster setup is probably crazy expensive, where you have pedals.
Oh, if you're talking about
throttle.
Well, yeah, the top of the line Thrustmaster without the pedals is $300, and that's the Warthog, the new Warthog. Well, it's not even new; it's been out for a while. It's modeled after the A10's flight control stuff, and that's the throttle quadrant and the stick, and that's $300. The pedals are another $300, and that's just airplane. If you want, Tyler and I have been looking at helicopter stuff and helicopter controls. For the cyclic, the pedals, and the collective, you're probably talking for a good set, probably $2,000. It's absolutely crazy.
That thing looks machined. Like everything looks like it's aluminum.
Oh, it is. It is on the Warthog. Yeah, on the A10. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it weighs a metric ton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap! You can get an LCD attachment to it.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. It's all USB, so.
Yeah, there's this guy, or maybe that's add-on, I'm not sure. Oh, the HOTAS, HOTAS.
Hands-off throttle quadrant system, HOT. I think that's what that stands for. Hands-off.
Wow. Ballin status. Holy crap. Wow.
Hands-on throttle and stick. HOTAS. Yeah, HOTAS.
And then the pedals, that looks elaborate too. Wow.
Well, and there's, this is sort of the commercial market, but if you go into the pro, like the guys that are doing flight sims commercially that want really cool stuff, that stuff gets just stupid expensive. I mean, just stupid. And not because it's overly complicated, because it's not. Most of them are using potentiometers for sense. For the, like in the rudder pedals, most of it is just potentiometers and. With some sort of an A to D converter, then they're sending it digitally over to USB, and so there's nothing super complicated about any of it. It's just supply and demand. There's not a lot of demand, so
wow.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of guys that make their own, but which I wouldn't mind trying, but shit, some of it is just crazy. I'd love to do a helicopter because that's what I did in the Army. I was a crew chief on Hueys. And I'd like to have helicopter controls, but Jesus, some of them are. All the guys that apply the sims for the helicopter say you really need the force feedback on the helicopter stuff. They say it's even more crucial. But
technically, couldn't you make it? No.
Yeah, and I probably will do something just so that I can sit here at my desk and do something fun.
I mean, the flight stick, I could see why you would buy that because that looks pretty elaborate. But the throttle and all the switches and stuff, that you could probably make.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like with X-Plane that will do. You'll have like the guys that do the big full motion cockpits. They'll have multiple copies of X-Plane because that's the way they license it, right? So you need one copy of X-Plane that's generating the outside view, just what you're seeing as a pilot, and then a lot of guys will do another copy of X-Plane, and that will be your instruments. And what they'll do is they'll create an instrument panel in PlaneMaker that is laid out the way a physical pilot's with the way that cockpit would be laid out in a real plane, and then they'll build a cockpit and build the LCD behind, the overlay for the cockpit, so you'll have the holes cut out.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And that way you don't have to have real instruments, but it still looks like a real cockpit, and some of those look absolutely fantastic.
Look at the link or a picture I just dumped in there.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And that guy is probably running. So in the late 90s, I worked for a company called Spectrum Holobyte in Alameda, California, and Spectrum and Holobyte came out with a flight sim called Falcon. Well, they had Falcon 3 forever, and then they came out with Falcon 4, which was, of course, a F-16 simulator. And at the time, it was we had Pete Benani he was a National Guard F-16 pilot, and he was kind of our liaison between the Air Force. And it was an absolutely incredible flight simulator. All the radar modes were exact the way they were in the real aircraft. The startup procedures were exact. Everything was just, if you could fly our Falcon 4, you could probably hop into a real F-16, and whether or not, if you knew how to fly, you could probably take off and land and fly that thing and wouldn't want to go into combat, but that's probably what he's doing there. Because the F-16s have a really slanted seat like that. Gives them more G-force. Yeah, look at that helmet. Isn't that awesome?
Wow. So this guy made an attachment for his. This looks like something for a helicopter, actually.
It's good to know I'm not the only one that sees things in pretty butterflies in the window. So there was this thread. I'm going to put it into our main Hangout, and this is the one that I sent Tyler a while back ago. In that thread, there's a guy that makes a set of rudder pedals, and let me see if you can figure out what he's using to make the rudder pedals. I'm sure you'll look at it and go, oh, those are blank.
Where'd you put it?
In that same chat window. Oh, no, I didn't, did I? Yeah, I did. It's right above that joystick that you just posted.
Oh. Let's see. Rudder pedals.
It's if you go all the way down the first page to the bottom.
It's bicycle pedals.
Yeah, it's bicycle cranks. It's pretty freaking ingenious. I'm like, oh my god, that's so clever. And those are actually pretty close to it. Those are like more helicopter related. That's like what you would have in a helicopter. Now I've started to draw that in Fusion, but I have no idea how to model those ball style turnbuckles like that. I've tried. Like I even tried to find them, and I found some, but how to actually do the joint on those in Fusion was kind of weird. I couldn't figure it out.
It doesn't have a ball joint?
Well, this does, but in Fusion, it's not one of the joints that you can pick. Like when you go to create a joint in Fusion, ball joint isn't one. It's kind of I don't remember what they all were.
Well, I guess that's technically a revolve.
Kind of, yeah, but it's more than a revolve, right? It's free on every axis up to a point.
Yeah, and what's funny is John from NYCNC just did a video on that. I didn't watch it all the way through.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I almost pinged him and said, "Hey, could you consider modeling like this kind of a joint?"
One of his clamps has Oh, I see. I regret not watching it all the way through.
Well, I guess that's why Inventor is more expensive because I had my 24 hours of Inventor training this past week, and ball joint is just a standard joint.
Yeah, we don't have that in Fusion yet that I've seen. That would be awesome, though. I would imagine that at some point, do you think Inventor's going to continue to be a product for them, or do you think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
it
yeah.
will be?
It's a
Yeah.
separate SKU. Yeah.
I don't understand.
I
I don't
think
know. I
I
guess
don't.
I've never played it.
Well, I think their marketing people still don't understand how Fusion 360 fits in with an Inventor. As far as
Yeah, that's the million
correct.
dollar question.
And the company that did my Inventor training had an hour session on Fusion this week, but I didn't have the time to watch it.
I would love to install Inventor, but it's Windows only. I guess I could dump it in a VM,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, you can import all the Fusion crap into it. It supports F3D. So, and I think it goes the other way too, from Inventor to Fusion. So, I don't know. Looks cool.
Yeah, there's other joysticks in that same link I sent you that guys have done with that. It seems like everybody likes that
It's so simple. It's elegant.
that Thrustmaster. Yeah, with the pedal cranks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it is. It's like, oh my god, that's perfect. Yeah, you could actually use those like if you were building a home-built aircraft. You can almost do that.
So the bent yoke that I keep seeing that everybody's doing as a mod, is that a helicopter thing?
Yeah. Yep, that's for helicopter. I mean, you could use that in a normal, like a P-51 sim or something like that. Although the sticks in a P-51 are straight, a lot of times in a helicopter where that bend is, the seat actually kind of comes up a little bit into there, and I think that's why that bend is there like that. I'm not sure,
Oh, okay.
but if you see a helicopter, the seat is often kind of like up in that area. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know why they do that, but yeah, that's pretty common.
A whole other world.
Yeah, it's yeah. There's so much, but they all love to use that Thrustmaster. What's funny though is in a helicopter sim, like in a helicopter, from what I understand, if you push that stick down, the stick stays in the position that you leave it in. And so when you're using something like these Thrustmasters that are all heavily springed, that it doesn't work. There are now, like I said, if you go up, I sent Tyler a link. Oh, I bet you this is it right here.
Oh, so for the rudder pedals, he's just using a Hall effect sensor.
Yep. Yep. In that case, yeah.
So really, it's just two cams. Yeah, you could totally.
Right. With that Arduino library, it would it would be not hard to do with an Arduino.
Huh. That's cool. That is
Yeah.
very, very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome shit.
I mean, I like flight sims, not to this detail though. I mean, I just like flying around and stuff. But that's impressive. That's really cool.
Yeah, I should send you. I gotta send you one video. I sent it to Tyler, and it's this video. There's this military combat simulator out there that basically is designed for people who like to fly like military missions, and it's super like massively online, right? There's a tank aspect of the game where you can like control tanks and drive tanks, and then there's the aviation aspect of it where you can be in a helicopter.
Was it War Thunder or whatever?
No, it's called. Let's see, all apps. I haven't installed. I can't remember. Do you remember what that was, Tyler? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I could see if it's still in here.
Need to get more switches. First world problem.
There are so many freaking mods with the Thrustmaster.
There is, but
Wow.
yeah, there's a price of entry on that.
Oh, I know, but just wow. Holy crap. There's one guy like machined out of Delrin this entire pedal setup. Holy crap. That's pretty cool. Like where are they getting these seats? This guy looks like he has an actual seat from a fighter.
Probably
Oh,
get
yeah, you can buy them on eBay if you've got $1,500. There's also guys. There's plans out there, so you can build them too. Guys have got plans out there, so you can build the whatever. It's the ejection seat. I can't remember what they call it. But yeah, there's an underbelly out there of guys that are really into this.
Yeah, because this guy has like it looks like I'm guessing it's an F-16, but the full mock-up, everything, like everything you would see like in front of you and diagonal. Holy crap! That is.
Wait, so which link were you looking for?
So do you remember a link of a guy flying that helicopter with the Oculus Rift?
Yeah, I remember that one. I'll see if I can find it.
That's pretty cool. I guess everybody has to have their hobbies. You know, some people are into flight sim, some people are into CNC, some people are into My Little Pony. You know.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, it's DCS is that program, Digital Combat Simulation System or something like that. DCS, DCS World.
Yeah, I just put the F on the link.
There you go. So that's, yeah, you got to watch that one video when you get a sec, Eves. This guy's obviously flown helicopters before. He's just very precise in his movements. But the fact that he's able to fly like that in a simulator kind of blows my mind a little bit, because it's simulators, especially even good ones, are just harder than the real thing, I think. And this guy is just spot on with that. There's towards the end of the video, he lands it on top of a roof of a building, and the approach he makes to land on the roof is very perfect.
I remember in high school we used to play Comanche Gold, and that was fun. Run around with Cobra.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that game.
We got pretty good with the keyboard and mouse on that thing. I tell you what, we in my computer programming class, we would finish all the week's assignments in the first 2 days, and then we would just play Comanche Gold for the rest of the week, and the teacher didn't give a shit because we all had A's. There was like 7 people in the class, and we all had A's, and we all had the entire curriculum done for the week. She's like, I don't give a shit. So we used to multiplayer on the school's network, and it was badass. And we used to get we were pretty good at it. If I will toot my own horn, a million years ago, but it was good times.
So in that video, Eves, that stuff that he's got, just the rudder pedals, the collective, and the cyclic stick that he's using, just those helicopter controls are probably close to $2 or $3 grand, somewhere in there. But they're all hydraulic. They're actually, wherever he puts that stick, it stops. I mean, it's very authentic, very real. But lots of money involved in that. Just in those, plus that seat he's got. That seat looks beyond a home-built seat. That looks like a real seat. But there's guys that do.
Wow.
But with the Oculus, that would be awesome. The only problem with this, the whole thing I see with the Oculus, it's awesome because then you don't need the cockpit. But then how do you, like, flip a switch or something?
Yeah.
So you still need the keyboard. For now, anyway.
Yeah. There'd have to be some heads-up display of where your hand was. I mean, that would be the only way to really do that with any sort of accuracy. Of course, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So.
Well, not really. I mean, if you think about add to that whole mix the Kinects from Xbox that can track body positions,
Yeah.
and I think you could come pretty damn close.
Yeah, you could probably work that out.
I mean, I couldn't, but somebody that could program could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty awesome video. Yeah. DCS is pretty cool too. What have you been so busy building? Builder man.
I'm tinkering with shit. You know how I do.
Tinker. So you asked about my Bloom Sky. How did I get it?
Yeah. How did you get it?
Well, so a good friend of mine bought Bloom Sky, and he kind of told me about it. I had not heard of them before. They were a Kickstarter, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I downloaded their app, and their app is really freaking cool, and it's just kind of fun. You can look at weather. They've got thousands of these things all over the world.
Oh wow.
And when you install the app, you have to create an account, right? So I created an account, and I started getting emails from them. Well, I got an email from them last week that basically was, we're looking to give a few of these away if you think you'd like one, and we could benefit from having one at your location. Let us know why. So, you go to their website and you fill out this form, and they ask you a bunch of questions, and they want a picture of like the area where you would install it. So I went onto my roof, kind of where the chimney is, and took a pano with the iPhone and did all that and typed it out and sent it off and waited and shit.
Low up gold?
Yesterday I got a note from him said you've been approved. You got one coming. So I'm like, sweet. It's like a $400, $380
Weather station.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's pretty sweet.
Nice. Well, this is one of the things that I'm tinkering with right now. It's a 17 key number pad thing. I got the PCB for free, and it's got a built-on controller, so it's all one thing. And this is what I was milling, just a plexiglass plate. I got to do a little tweaking with it because, of course, the X carve still has that like 0.5 millimeter fudge level. So
That's
some of the holes
are
white. Well, maybe not 0.5, but it's the switches are exactly 14 millimeters, and if they're any inside of that, it gets really interesting trying to shove them in, especially in a material like plexiglass, which doesn't expand.
Yeah.
Like wood, you can fudge a little bit, but with acrylic and stuff, you can't force them in. So like if it was a aluminum plate, you can't force them in, so you have to adjust.
Yes.
This is my adjustment tool.
That's the manual CNC.
Yeah, this is my universal adjustment tool.
That's cranial numeric control.
Yeah. So that's something I was just kind of playing with right now. This is the mock-up prototype for the JD40 Geek Hack Give Back Wood case.
Awesome.
It's gonna be. I've decided to do a wood plate. So this is actually wood, not acrylic, not carbon fiber, not aluminum. So I've decided to do that. I have I showed you guys the woods last week. I still haven't gotten what I want to do before I start milling 30-year-old mahogany. I want to do a mock-up and do a one-for-one prototype. So a final product prototype, if you want to call it that. So what I'm probably going to do is I've got some pine, some 0.75-inch thick pine. I'm just going to glue a couple of those together or something and mock that up and do an actual prototype just in case I need to tweak anything. So I'll do the full build. So it's a 3-piece case. It's the lid, the base, and then the plate. I don't know that I'll put all the keys in it when I do the final prototype. To do that full assembly prototype, I'll put at least a couple of the switches in. Just kind of stick them down in there and see how they do. And if it comes out, then I'll switch over to mahogany and start hogging out some final product. I'd like to get it done sooner rather than later. I've got the plate done. I've got the PCB done. It's fully programmed. I actually did some testing with that. I was able to get the 10C off. So my industrial hair dryer, also known as a heat gun, is my best friend. So I just kind of got it close and moved it back and forth and had forceps on the other side and just put a little pressure on it and it just came right off. But it was some serious business trying to get that free. Pro tip: don't solder on the wrong side of a PCB with a daughter board controller. That's bad bombing. So, but anyway, got that done. And in amongst all this, a buddy of mine wants me to sell. I've got an old i7 and Intel Skull Trail motherboard and some RAM and a case. And he's like, I want you to sell all that shit for me, and I want you to build me a keyboard. I said, all right, which one do you want? So he wants an Ergodox, which is the split keyboard. Have you seen that one? Let's see if I can find a quick link for it. Well, if you head over to ergodox.org, and that's ergodox.org, I posted a link. That's what it looks like. That's a more of a production run version. There's actually a sandwich plate version. You can go to the Geek Hack thread. There's a link to it, and you can find pictures of it eventually. I can't remember what page it's on, but anyway, or you can just Google Ergodox. They make a PCB. What's that?
Or two.
Yeah. It's a two-piece PCB. One side holds a tensor, the other side uses a I can't remember what it is, but anyway, they're linked together through a standard 4-post 3.5 millimeter headphone jack cable. That's that's the joining piece. Yeah, it's the joining piece, which is pretty cool. And then it runs out with a USB cable. So, long story short, he found this really crazy keyboard adaptation of this thing, and he wants me to build that and put it in like this little case, and there's going to be a trackball involved. It went from a really cool build to some crazy insanity that's going to be a shit ton of work, and I'm really trying hard to talk him out of it. But anyway, that's going to be my next thing. So if anybody's in the market for a old i7 socket 974 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, 1333. I can't remember. It's a Pentium. It's an i7 940. That's the chip. So it's quad core hyperthreading, 3-point-something gigahertz or 2-point-something gigahertz or whatever. It's a decent chip. It's just an older flavor. It's like Gen 2 i7 or whatever. So, but anyway, selling that, hopefully we can score about $150 to $200 out of that sale of the motherboard and processor and anything else I can get rid of that he gave me. And that'll be enough to start the process of purchasing stuff for the next keyboard build. Unfortunately, it's not really going to be a for-profit build. It's kind of, long-time family friend, kind of a thing. So it'll be a fun project 'cause I've never built an Ergodox before. They're a lot more involved than the JD40, which is just soldering some diodes and a tensor on there, and maybe an LED and a resistor. The Ergodox has quite a few more parts, so it's all good, fun stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
That'll be fun. And I found I was showing earlier. You guys were talking, so you probably didn't see it. I found my they're not really chamfer bits. They're actually countersink bits, but I've got a 5-piece set, which is pretty nice. This goes all the way up to 3/4 of an inch, so that's the big one. But I bought this set for like $10. There's a store that was going out of business, and I picked it up. It's a really nice. Oh shit! Just throw it. It comes in a nice case and everything. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully my CNC will hold. Hopefully the Makita will hold these. If it will, then that'll be super awesome, because then I'll actually be able to chamfer. So that'll be fun, but we'll see. If not, I can always use the V-carve bit that I have. Just probably not on aluminum. And I think that's all that's going on. I still got to do. I still got to finish my 108, which I've literally sat on a shelf, but I seem to do that. I'll work on a keyboard for a little while, then work on another keyboard, and then come back to it. Kind of becomes my MO. I've been trying to spend less time in my workshop and more time with my family lately. So
That's all good.
yeah, so it's when I'm out in my shop, which has turned into like maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. I try to maximize the time whatever I'm doing out here. I try to really um, take care of business, so to speak. So,
Get her done.
yeah, it's all good. I still have that router project that I want to work on.